Hi, it's Jane, and I'm going to work on a couple of hats with the Addi. I did have someone that had asked me a question about using my scrap cakes, because I'd shown you where I'd use the scrap cakes. So we are going to use a scrap cake to work on a hat. At least I am. You guys get to watch. So, and there are ways to do this. I am going to do a couple of rows using some scrap yarn to start out with, because I basically want to do this as a single layer hat. So I am just going to do a little bit with my scrap yarn to get it started. So we will do that, and this way you can see kind of how I use it. I will talk you through it, some of it, because as you know, I use the magic knot when I wind these balls, and sometimes it changes the way you have to actually load it, let it go through your tension control. It's not real hard, it's not difficult, but it makes it go a little bit easier, and I have found that if you do it that way many times, the knot goes to the back or the inside of the work. So that is something that is a positive. Okay, now I've reached my first, ready to start winding in that first row. So I'm going to put that in there. I am not going to look at my counter because the counter doesn't matter right now, because I'm just doing a couple of rows anyway, just to get this started. Probably 2 or 3 rows. I know many people say do 3 or 4, but I don't find that necessary. A lot of this has been trial and error with this, and learning what works and what doesn't work. All right, so I'm ready to add in my cake. And the easiest way to do that is to drop that down below. Bring this in. Set it into my tension gauge. That's what I've always called it. I don't know if that's what you call it or not, but that's what I call it. My tension gauge. And then I generally just tie these two together just to help hold it. You can do a square knot, you can do whatever you want just to hold it together. Once you start your winding again. Now, I am going to take it back a little bit because I do want to zero out my counter. And there it's zeroed out. And now I am going to do this first row a little loosely, just to make sure it's winding. And all these stitches are getting through there. I'm going to pull out more of this. Just make it a little bit easier. And now we're just kind of ready to go and roll out quite a few of these. There'll be a couple of rows because the first row is purple, first color. And I do need to look at my cheat sheet. I don't have my cheat sheet here, so let me grab that real quick. And that's going to be a task trying to find it. Should have already printed it out. And I didn't do that. Oh, and I'm not going to be able to find it. That's frustrating. The funny thing is, generally it's right there in front of me. And I generally bypass it pretty quickly. Do you ever do that? With things you're looking for on your phone? Do need to clean up my mess as well on my phone. Remove certain things. Delete a couple of other things that don't need to be there. There we are. Okay. I'm ready to get it going, so now I know where my count is. I have Izzy in here, and she's making all kinds of noise in the background. She meowed for the first time today. Normally she does little mews, and I call them mews. They're kind of like, woo, woo. She actually meowed. And at first I thought it was Ronan. I was like, what's Ronan going on about? I am fixing to come up on a knot in this. So what I generally do is I do lift it up until the knot has passed. And then I put it back into that stitch gauge, stitch channel, and just keep going. That is how I work around the magic knot in this. Generally because it has a little bit of difficulty. Have another knot coming up. Has a little bit of difficulty going through there sometimes. And you can actually leave it in the channel. You just need to lift it up so the knot gets through there. And that's how I do that. I know it's not a close-up view. I'm hoping that explanation is enough. I'm not real sure about setting up equipment so you can actually see it up close, how I would do that here, but I could always try it at some time. Yeah, I thought we'd also talk a little bit about all these comets coming this way. I saw one of the scientists that I like to watch talking about there are 7 comets that are headed towards our galaxy, our constellation, and they're like converging from all different areas. Of course, you know, the one big thing everybody's talking about is the they call it 3I Atlas or 3-1 Atlas. it has again changed trajectory. Now, I've seen a lot of people talking about the speed. As soon as any of these comets get closer to the sun, they do speed up. So that's normal. But changing the trajectory is something that's a little different. That is kind of unusual. So apparently it's now headed for Mars. Expected to get to Mars around November. They're not sure if it's in direct line to hit Mars or what. But if you've ever followed any of the science channels, that could be bad news for Earth in itself. So that's rather interesting. So I don't know if we'll, if it's actually happening that way like they say it is or what. But it should be interesting. Then there are a couple of there's one comet that they have discovered. They have named it, it's either R25 or R2. I've seen it both ways. And this one, they've nicknamed it R2 Swan. It is 100 times bigger than 3I Atlas and brighter than it, 100 times. And so that one's kind of interesting to see. They also believe that it is headed towards Mars. So, I'm going to find that rather interesting to follow that. Just like my one friend likes to follow hurricanes, I like to follow constellations, science things like this. We each have our thing, right? I have little Miss Kitty Cat. She's wandering around here. I don't know if she's wanting attention or she's just wanting to be near. Sometimes they do that. Ronan more so than Izzy. Izzy is probably a little more independent. However, Izzy is also the cat that when she gets lonely or can't find somebody, she'll pick up her little stuffy, carry it around, crying out for you. So, I tell you, these cats, they have character, they have personality. They certainly do. And they keep me guessing anytime, what they're up to and what they're planning on doing. Izzy lately has found a spot under the dining table that she likes to sit in, lay in, watch that kind of thing. So I will try to remember to put a picture of that at the end. I know there's a couple times that I've gone looking for her and couldn't find her and wondered where on earth is this cat at. And I realize now that she most likely was under there or sleeping in one of the chairs. Although her favorite place to sleep is a chair that's back here over this way from me. It kind of sits facing so you can look out the windows. Also, you could be right there where the fireplace is behind me if you wanted to sit there. I have my eyes on a couple of recliners. There is a local furniture store that is going out of business that I thought I would like to put in here. so I could sit back here and crochet or knit or whatever I chose to do. And I have to tell you, last night, I had an issue with my TV that was about to drive me bonkers. I have a Samsung Smart TV. And there have been times that it's rather annoying. Well, it was annoying yesterday because they updated the terms of service. And updated some of their policies or whatever. It kicked out everything that I had downloaded previously. Like the Roku and, uploaded those kind of things. Where it uploaded Tubi and just a lot of those things that I have been watching since getting rid of the cable. It also could not locate my internet, which I had previously put in there with all the information for password, to go for searches and those kind of things, so I didn't constantly have to upload that every time. Because if you've ever had to use the remote to put in passwords, email, all that nonsense, you know how frustrating it can be. So I had to redo everything, re-upload everything. And it was just ticking me off. Although Samsung gives a lot of great channels that you can watch. One of my favorites is being able to watch Newsmax. Some of the other news agencies that are not normal, but they do Fox News Live, and I don't really care for that channel. I do watch it a little bit, and while I was trying to set everything up, of course, they were, I think in Los Angeles, they were chasing that guy that was a murderer. That was kind of interesting. I'm like, okay, they either shot the tires out or he ran over the spikes and blew them out, but he was driving on the hubs. Still driving erratically, going the wrong way up ramps. And my first thought is, why didn't you just get up to him and do the pit maneuver? Don't ask me why they don't do those things. But, there's sometimes you just go, do this. Why don't the truckers just block him? How many times have we seen truckers do that? So I don't know, maybe it has to do with Los Angeles. But it was, sort of interesting to watch while I was sorting out the apps and adding them back in and all that kind of fun stuff. But that's the only thing that pisses me off about this Samsung TV. They do this like once a year. Long enough for me to forget how I did it the last time and to remember how frustrating it was. But whatever, it's done, it's taken care of, so I'm back in business. Although I have to sign in to YouTube every time. I'm not sure why that is, because I've never had to sign in every time in the past. But now all of a sudden I have to, so. Alright. I might have to tie in another color. And I'm gonna have to, because I am at the very tail end of this one. So let me tie in another color. And I will show you also, because I'm not going to cut these short like I normally do for the magic knot, although I am going to use it like a magic knot. I'm going to weave those in here. Did you hear that? Oh boy, hang on. Sorry about that. Had to go save Izzy. She got into some ribbon that she was playing with, and she was joking on it. I'm telling you. Did I ever think I'd have to do CPR on my cat? No, I didn't have to do CPR. But I had to yank that ribbon from within her. And I have no clue sometimes where she gets a hold of some of these things that she gets a hold of. That's what that noise was her choking on that. So anyway, where was I? Don't even remember what I was talking about. See how upset that cat got me? I'm telling you. Oh well, move on to something else until my brain remembers what I was talking about. Saw where the Democrats chose not to honor Charlie Kirk, a huge swath of them, and AOC went off on her ugly little rant, which I think is rather interesting because, you know, just the other day the Democrats were trying to use the, you know, what about Melissa Hortman and her husband? Well, Republicans sided one unanimously with them to honor Melissa Hortman and her husband's death and their dog's death during that month. But you can't get Democrats to do the same. And quite honestly, I didn't expect them to. They're pretty much pretty vile people. They want you to believe that they have compassion, yet they don't. Everything is political with them, regardless of what it is. And quite frankly, I don't think they have hardly any humanity left in them. I mean, who the hell thought Fetterman would be the voice of reason of the Democrat Party? Seriously? I didn't have that on my bingo card. I have never really thought much of Fetterman because, quite frankly, when he was in the Pennsylvania Senate and whatnot, or Congress, he was absent most of the time, didn't show up for the job. I don't know if this stroke that he had actually changed him for the better or made him realize, you know, that he has some responsibility in what he does or doesn't do. But it's like, okay, well, at least he's showing up. And some of the things he says actually make more sense than any other Democrat I've ever heard. I'm like, I would have never thought that of him, honestly. And I have followed him because he is in Pennsylvania, or has been Pennsylvania politics for many years. So, I don't know. That wasn't on my bingo card. And just find it distasteful. Quite honestly, what I'm seeing from the Democrat Party and have been seeing from the Democrat Party. There are a lot of people that are actually calling them out for when are they going to actually represent the American people that they serve and not illegals, criminals, and that kind of likeness. Because it seems like they want to give them more rights than they do American citizens. So, and I think this judge, you know, there's a part of me that goes, so this Democratic appointed judge is holding children, keeping the children from Guatemala from going back to their parents because it was a Trump administration that arranged for it, or what? So now Democrats are all about keeping children separated from their families? Is that the game we're playing? You know, I can't keep up with Democrats' games. But it just seems like it's just getting wackier and wackier with them. And of course, there's some Republicans that are just as wacky. So I don't know. Now, I made this hat short because I am thinking that I am going to use this for a toddler hat, a small child. And I am also trying to decide if I want to let the brim curl up naturally. I mean, it's already doing that, so I may let it do that. As I finish up this top. And the amount of stitches that they actually said to go for, rows, was 100 rows for a toddler. And I am not going with that. I am choosing to go less. This is about 70 rows. I think this could be given to one of the smaller children in one of the families, the Operation Christmas Child, so we'll do that. Just let it go that way. Got one more section that needs to be tied together. And then I think I'm ready to actually bind it off and weave in the ends. On this hat, at least on the tail end here. And this hat is finished for this part. Now, still need to do the stretching on it. And this could actually go for a larger hat. This could go for a teen. But I think that'll be a nice little hat for a toddler. And can let the brim roll up if you so choose, or you could actually undo the waist yarn, because we still have the waist yarn here, and could actually do a crochet top on it. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to finish this off camera and choose to do something a little bit different. I just wanted you guys to see how you can use your cakes that you wind up, these crazy cakes. And of course you could do it straight off the bat. Weave those in, you know, as you go along anyway. Start off with another color and just let it continue and let it be a totally different hat, top to finish. And then do the normal closure at both ends for it to make it a double thick hat. I'm always reminded of, in some of the hotter countries that, you know, normally throughout the year they get these nice hot temperatures, you know, 120, 110, 115. So when their temperatures drop down to 80, 85, that's a cold temperature for them. We often don't think about that. I think I got a knot in here, so I'm just going to cut that sucker off. And get to going. So yeah, that's the way that I do these hats. You know, and like I said, Yarn for Yay has a long tail cast on that you could do if you just didn't want to do a brim at all. And then there is a way to finish the edging, and she does show you this in her video. I think it's maybe 8-10 minutes long, where she shows you a little bit about it, talks you through it. So it's that's another great tool to use when you are using these machines to make hats, amigurumi, you know, whatever. And yeah, I just know I have enjoyed using the machine more often than I have normally done it, because well, we are catching today. And I think this yarn that I'm using that's going through here is a Red Heart Navy. Yeah, it's a navy color. It might be Karen 1-pounder. I know this machine, some 1-pounders go through it fine. Others, it's like, nope, want nothing to do with it. And you're going to find that whatever machine you have, Centro, Addi, whatever, they're going to be awful picky or snickety. I have a lot of folks that tell me their machines will not accept, I love this yarn. This one, so far, many of them, I love this yarn, goes perfectly fine through these. So, maybe I dodged a bullet with this machine, I don't know. But it's just a great way to use up the scraps and get them out of your house and make a nice, colorful hat. Who said hats had to be 1 or 2 colors? Or just 3 colors, and they had to be opposites of each other, and have fun with it. And that's why I like making the scrap cakes. Scrap cakes are great fun for, doesn't matter what you're doing. You're doing basic granny square blanket with them. Oh yeah, you're going to be a little difficult right there. A lot of drop stitches on that. Might just yank it and pull it off. And that's a choice too, sometimes you have to do. And start over. Because I'm not going to sit and pick those up. Because quite frankly, that's annoying. Absolutely find that absolutely annoying to have to do that. So generally, I will just start over. Sometimes, like this, I'm just going to cut it there. And then I'll use this for other projects. And just start over. The whole idea is to do what works, and if it ain't working for you, then change your tactic. I have found that no matter what I do, whether it is loom knit, crochet, knitting, if you are not enjoying what you're doing and you're having problems, sometimes it is better off to just cut it and start over. Save that yarn for another project. Or, as my one friend said, just throw it away. Don't mess with it. I don't know why you mess with all those scraps. I don't keep my scraps. I just toss them. Well, there are times, yeah, I do just toss them. It's just easier. But for the most part, I find there's a way to use them. Even if it's just to make a small flower, or make a small detail, or use it to sew up things. So yeah, that's kind of where I just kind of look at things when I'm doing things and don't worry about it. You know, your mileage may vary and you may choose not to. And that is entirely up to you. Right? We're all different. All right, guys, I'm going to let you go. This is going to be a fairly short one today for me. That's a yammer yapper. Anyway, I'm going to let you go. I have a couple of things I need to get done. I need to get out there and do a little weed eating that I skipped yesterday. Yesterday we had our senior ministry meal together, and it was based on harvest, and they do a great job of decorating things. They had apples and small pumpkins, and a lot of the desserts were apple or pumpkin based. They had apple cider. They always have tea or coffee. But they had cider pulled chicken barbecue and cider pulled pork barbecue. Cooked carrots, ew. And they also had macaroni and cheese, and then they had 2 different salads you could get, cookies, some things like that. Someone made spice cake truffles. They were really good, very good. She dips them in white chocolate, and I know who makes them. So, but they were really good. And I wound up taking the rest of that Turkish Delight candies in. And folks were trying it, and they were enjoying every bit of it. So it was a good deal. That way I don't have to worry about eating it, having it sit here in the house and going to waste. Just share it with some folks. All right, guys, I'm going to let you go. I will see you again soon. But in the meantime, everybody have a great weekend. And do something kind for somebody else. And stay positive. Be the light in people's lives. See you again soon. Bye.